You're listening to a Life in Quebec podcast. For more, visit lifeinquebec.com.
Hi, I'm Andrew Greenfield from lifeinquebec.com, and we're joined now by Patrick Duffley and Akram. Can you remind me of your family name?
Ayoub.
Ayoub. And Akram, you're originally from Syria and you now live in Quebec City. And Patrick, you're a teacher here in the city, but what else are you involved in and why are you here today?
Well, I'm also on the board of directors of a private student residence, which has been operating for CEGEP and university students since 1993. So that's how I know Akram.
Right. Okay, now we've all seen the terrible atrocities being committed in Syria and Iraq at the moment on a daily basis. You only have to go online or watch the news on TV to get an update of the awful things that are happening in that part of the world. Many millions of people have been displaced. People are dying every day. Hundreds of thousands of people have died since the conflict began 3 or 4 years ago. And Akram, can you tell us why you're here today? What is it you want to talk about?
We are here actually to talk about a new scholarship. We try to put it on way with Bois Gamin, and we need to ask the people here in Quebec and around Canada, even the world, if they are interested to give us help.
Okay, well, we'll go into that in a minute, but can you tell me, Akram, why you left Syria?
First, actually, since 2012, I leave Syria to Quebec to start doing to study in the Laval University, and my purpose was to take a master degree in tissue engineering, and then to come back to Syria and work and tissue engineering in Syria.
Okay, so that's why. So you left in 2012. So you left as we record this three and a half years ago now, and you initially came here to study.
Yeah.
So fairly, I think the answer is fairly obvious, but I'm assuming you don't currently want to go back to Syria.
Not now, because I'm from Aleppo, and Aleppo city now it's really dangerous, so I can't go back to my city.
Okay.
This is why I change my plan and I start working here in Quebec.
Okay, so you've been here 2 or 3 years, well, three and a half years. How have you found the difference? How the transition from a hot country to a part of the world that's hot sometimes, shall we say?
That was not easy. That was not easy. There are a lot of different between Syria and Quebec, and if we need to talk about that, we can speak a lot of time to see the difference between Syria and Quebec. But actually, there are different. First, the language it's not the same. The culture is not the same. The weather it's not the same. That was not easy, but we can do it, and I did it.
And did you find that people here helped you settle
sure.
here in the city?
Without the help of people, my brother, the resident when I can't do what I did.
So without the help of others, you couldn't do what you do today.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Now, Patrick, the student residence that we're talking about, can you just give us the name of it again and why it exists and what is it?
Mm-hmm. It's called Bois Gamin, Boigomin, and it was set up by parents and business people about 20 some years ago. The idea being that we wanted to offer a kind of home away from home for students who are looking for a good study atmosphere with a certain social life. So it operates a bit like a family. People try to be there for meals. After supper, we take a half an hour and sit down together in the living room just to chat about current affairs, and we bring in the odd professor or people from the business world to kind of open the students' horizons. And there isn't really anything like it. You can get a residence which is just a room and board, but this offers a whole atmosphere which is conducive to social life and study, and also there's a spiritual dimension for those who are interested, but it's totally optional.
Okay, so it's not it's not obligatory then. If you happen to be religious or of a particular faith, that's fine. But if you're not, that's fine too.
Yeah. We've had Muslim residents there, and as long as they're at ease with the fact that there are people there who have the Christian faith, there's absolutely no problem with that at all. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now, so what can the Bois-Gomain student residents? Well, you sort of answered this, but what you offer a home away from home? Would you say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's basically it. So for somebody coming from outside the country, that's very interesting. Right now we have a young student from Rwanda who is also going to face the Quebec climate, right? So I went out with him a few weeks ago to the shopping center to buy some winter clothes, and
I bet that was an experience. Akram, you must be able to talk about that. You don't need clothing like this from where you're from, do you? So how do you? Okay, now we put a press release. The press release that you sent us last week, we put that on lifeinquebec.com, and it was about the bursaries that you're offering. Now, what is it, and why are you doing it?
Well, the bursaries we're looking for. We calculated that for a student who is studying at university or CEGEP, it's about 15 grand to cover the person's expenses, their room and board, and tuition and all of that. And we would like to offer 3 of these bursaries to students from Syria. What's interesting is that with Akram coming from the country, he has contacts there, and in fact we already have 3 or 4 possible applications or candidates, people who would be interested in coming to Quebec City to study if we can find the bursary. I mean, the challenge now is to try to raise the money, which is why we're trying to raise awareness for our project, and we're very grateful to people like you for helping us out with that.
But even if you get the money, and let's hope that you do, and I hope that we can go some way to helping you do that by helping get the message out. But even if you do get the money, and you say you want to get 3 students in from Syria, Akram, with the current situation in Syria, how are they going to get out?
In reality, the Canadian government did a lot of work and they try to help the people in Syria, and there are many kind of visa and application the Syrian people can apply to get a visa or refugee status. So I think that's not the problem to come here to Canada, but the problem to find the people who can guarantee the future of the young people.
Okay.
He would like to finish her university studies and do more upgrade studies, like especially master's or PhD, even a bachelor degree. So the younger people in Syria now need help and need to guarantee her future,
now
or his future.
The situation in Syria that we see today on TV and in the media is pretty shocking, but it actually started 2011, so it started 4.5 years ago. Why, Patrick, set up a bursary now and not 4.5 years ago?
That's a good question. We didn't get the idea until now for some reason. It's a bit of an accident that Akram ended up at our place, because it's mainly because of his brother, who was already here and who stayed at our student residence. And then when Akram wanted to leave, his brother was still studying at that point, so he ended up with us. And it's something that kind of has grown on us, I think, like watching or living the conflict through the eyes of Akram, it's become something which is less abstract and a lot more personal.
Yes.
And it got to the point where we felt that we had to do something about this, right?
Okay.
And I would say also that Pope Francis has something to do with it, because he made an appeal to particularly the Catholics in Europe to try to do something to help the people who are refugees, and that was one of the triggers that really kind of set us on thinking that we've got to do something. But it took a bit of time for that idea to gel, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I mean, the religion aside and faith aside, the bottom line is there's people in trouble and they need help.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's and so that's basically where you're coming from with this, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think now we are in 2015. There are more than 4 million people out of Syria, 2 million children out of school, and probably it's time to do something to help these people.
Okay, so why should people consider supporting the bursary?
Well, I think it's a way to give someone a way not only of escaping a dangerous situation, but also to acquire a training that will help them in their future profession. Right. Our idea is to offer this bursary for 2 years, and then as a platform for the person to be able to take off and fly on their own afterwards. Right. We don't want to support them through over a 10-year period or something like that, but to give them just this little push that it takes for them to get. Because in order to come here with refugee status, somebody has to sponsor them,
Yes.
right? To be able to guarantee a certain amount of funding over 2 years, right? So that's what we want to do, is to give them this little push to help them not only to get out of the country, but to come to a program where they can acquire knowledge and training that's going to allow them to have a job and to be, productive citizens if they stay here in Canada, or if everything's calmed down in Syria, they can go back and help their country. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So how, I suppose the really important thing, if people listening to this or looking at this on lifeinquebec.com, if they want to support you guys and help out with supporting the bursary financially or otherwise, how do they do that?
Well, they can go on the Life in Quebec website to the article on Syrian refugees, and there is a link to a page with a PayPal button where you can make online donations. And since we have a nonprofit status, we can also send people a tax receipt for their donations.
So that goes straight to your organisation. The money goes straight to your organisation, and it's managed at your end.
Yes.
Right.
And we're all volunteers, so there's none of that's going to operational overhead. All of it is going to go to the students.
Okay. Well, listen, gentlemen, thanks very much for coming in, and good luck with the bursaries. I'm Andrew Greenfield for lifeinquebec.com. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to a Life in Quebec podcast. For more news, editorials, and opinion, visit lifeinquebec.com.